Up and over. Oh! Oh! That was... Hello, my fellow gaming tankers. All comedic absurdity aside, let's talk about the T-64 line. I'm just going to focus on the top 3 of each era, and not too much talking about stats here. And the reason we're flying through the Object 430U right now is just because there's not too much to talk about here. It is a really good medium. I know some of you may consider this kind of like a heavy medium kind of thing. I mean, it's. I don't think we need to talk too much about it. I don't think we need to worry about it too much. I don't think we need to get too much into the details. You should probably get this thing. Wargaming, don't look at stats. It's totally... There's nothing overpowered about this. It has a 122 millimeter boom snout that does like 250 millimeters of penetration on a standard round, which is, for a heavy tank, is pretty bad. It has 160 millimeters on its upper plate, 120 on its lower plate, putting it on par with mostly heavies. That is not overly well angled, so if the enemy is kind of above you, they will penetrate you. In other situations, probably not. Let's see, it's not it has good mobility, unlike heaviums, so yeah, it's a very balanced medium tank. I really wouldn't complain about it. I would just play it, but make sure to play like a Type 69 or something else. It's you could get bored being really good. Yeah. So that's the Object 430U. You should get it. Now on to the T-64-ish, sort of proper. I've done a video with the T-64 with its 150 millimeter boom snout, comparing it to the other 150 millimeter boom snouts, and it's just horribly inaccurate, which is kind of par for the course for all the Soviet MBTs. And that's kind of where, if this had been labeled as a heavy tank, I would say this is literally just a different version of the T-72, which is why the thumbnail has, like, you know, can you find the T-64? Because some of these Soviet tanks kind of look alike. And if it hadn't been for this being a medium and getting the benefits of being a medium tank, this whole line would have been lost in the sauce. If you have the T-72A, T-72M, T-72M1, you will be very familiar. I don't really need to talk about armor and stuff all that much, because armor and stuff is very similar. Once you figure out how to bounce shots with those things, you can kind of do it here. And that's where, you know, accuracy, it's a Soviet tank. It's got good accuracy because it's a medium tank, so it has that benefit, but Soviet tanks like to derp. You get a good penetration high alpha, but sometimes you just got to accept the fact that you were aiming for the very top of that cupola on a tank, and you just decided to derped into the hill in front of you, in between you two. That little mound of dirt became a giant hill and blocked your shot. Now, the T-64A does have some advantage compared to other mediums in the whole of Era 2, and it has ATGMs. That's kind of becoming a real big aspect of Era 2 and sort of Era 3. ATGMs can really be devastating. So, again though, if you have a T-72AV, that is better than a T-64, but let's talk about the differences. Being a medium tank, and originally before the big update where view range and concealment got changed, these were, I had the concealment down to just like 250, 260 meters. It had an amazing view range, which I absolutely love. I loved having the concept of a Soviet stealth tank that was heavy, had heavy firepower. Well, update came along. Now, concealment is better than all the heavies. view range is better than all the heavies, so there is a sliver, a good chunk, not a sliver, a good chunk of view range that you can almost work with. So if you need a break from just being an absolute brawler, you can try to detect the enemy team, which is why I took up this position here, because I figured I could sort of rely on the armor. It's an odd place to be fired upon, so you can kind of fall back and be protected. And if shots do make it through, your armor might actually work. And I was able to sort of help, at least attempt to keep either the enemy team detected or distracted. But they couldn't move without me seeing them make the move. So it was difficult. If they were going to push, it was going to be obvious. That's why I did it. And this is where the T-64A, if you need a break from playing the same playstyle that you would with the T-72s, because if the T-72s hadn't have gotten the speed upgrade that was given to them prior to the T-80 line being introduced, okay, we would actually have some differences to talk about. But the T-64, they just have better acceleration. Very similar top speed to the T-72s. The T-72M feels, because that does have a, I think it has a better transmission. I don't know if they did much with the engine over the regular T-72s, but you get you feel more similar to that when it comes to speed, but realistically, you accelerate better. Wargaming thinks this is a lighter tank than a stock T-72, whatever. So that was one. It was like, oh, I'm very comfortable in this tank, but it can do something slightly different to make it slightly interesting. Again, sort of nitpicking here, just because, like, yeah, there's a lot of similarities, just because, again, the T-72s should have just, if they hadn't been for that update and Wargaming giving them slightly better, higher top speed, slightly better hull rotation, just so they could kind of keep with the meta of being able to do 65 kilometers per hour, it would have been like, oh, okay, T-72s, solid armor, and ATGM, I don't know. Solid armor, solid firepower, and very quick to learn. T-64s, you obviously can feel that they were precursors to the T-80s because of their speed and sort of lack of accuracy. Better accuracy than T-80s, less fire prone than the T-80s. I think this is where you find yourself having to work with turbo diesel and diesel fuel and not a jet fuel powered turbine engine. Go figure. Something that's based more on gasoline is more fire prone than diesel, I guess. Wargaming logic. Speaking of getting penetrated from the side and taking fuel tank damage, I did notice this about the T-64s. Losing crewmates aside, because that seems to be part of the new meta now ever since the big update, whereas it's very surprising to play a match where I don't lose a crew member. Or sometimes my entire crew to high penetration, or obviously autocannon and stuff like that. But aside from that, the road wheels. Yes, we're about to start talking about tracks. No, I'm not going to be like the chieftain and start talking about track tension, but I am going to say this. The road wheels, unlike some of the other tanks, they sit farther down and they're smaller. So if you're on semi-rough terrain and they go up higher, there is even still a gap for rounds to penetrate through. It's because your road wheels will not be acting like kind of like a heat shield. They won't absorb the shot. I noticed this because I was taking a lot of fuel tank damage, because that fuel tanks are right up front and they're long. I was taking shots from the side and fuel tank damage, but I wasn't getting track damage or having my drive wheels damaged. So that was a huge thing. Like, I'm getting hit from the side quite a bit. Unlike other tanks where I'm like, oh, I'm getting hit from the side because my tracks just got damaged or were broken. So that is something to kind of be mindful of. I definitely found with the T-64s, I was like, I really am trying to keep facing the enemy because that might reduce the chance of me taking fuel tank damage. I don't know. It's really hard to try to accomplish that. It still happened. So that was that. And in Era 2, with the whole sea of mediums, yeah, we have the Soviets have kind of once again taken over a tech tree that is well armored, has a really good boom snout and good mobility, and dare I say, Western Alliance tanks, those 105s have the better penetration and decent alpha, but I don't know, it really felt kind of like this is like we make the jokes that there's always been a Soviet bias in these games, but this time it feels, now that we're talking about medium tanks, yeah, this is a solid medium tank line. Okay, the first one is a bit, it's horribly inaccurate. It can be, well, not horribly, just really bad accuracy. So on to the T-64 BV, the only T-64 in Era 3, and it's a competent medium, all right? Like with the T-64B, I definitely like to load up AT gems early on. The reload on the AT gems is pretty decent for a Soviet. I guess because it's a medium tank, it doesn't have the horribly long AT gem load like the T-72s and T-80s do, but I'll take it. Now, it's a competent tank. It's no Sario, okay? Forget that. It definitely has some side armor to possibly protect you if it hits that ERA armor to block the shot. But I found in Era 3, my biggest concern with this tank was anything with 140 millimeters. I learned to be very cautious and or highly targeting the Leclerc T4 because, and sometimes Thumpers was like, damn, it seemed like every time I came up against 140 millimeter boom snout, I got penned. I got module damage. I would lose crew members. It was a very consistent thing, and I'm like, jeez, I thought I was going to have to roll 120s. Because those can be, they're standard, and they're accurate, and they have good penetration, but it was something about the 140s in this tank made me very cautious. Now, you remember what I mentioned about spotting? Well, when your teammates are actually behind you and have a line of sight on the enemy team, and you find yourself in the middle, like I am now, I was like, I'm going to get spotting. I also was doing this because I needed to get spotting assists for the contract. And I was having a pain in the butt time doing that with the light tanks because there's so many light tanks in Era 1 and Era 2 that it's a lot of competition for getting the spotting assist and spotting damage. So, yeah. This line, if you have that issue, if you're not a good light tank player, hey, here's some medium tanks that can help you with that. And also bring the pain. So, I took up this position knowing fully well that I'm like, I'm probably not going to make it. But I will do my best to get to do what I can to help my team. And try to keep what little armor I have looking for. Because, again, this is a support tank. It's a standard medium support. And, yeah, that's why I'm including it. It's not, like, an awesome moment, but I just want to show you that sometimes, when in doubt, help your team out, okay? Go for the spotting. Alright, let me see. Anything else about T-64 BV? It does have armor. Keep yourself at mid-range. Definitely a solid performing support tank that you can... It's an entry level. You get once you get fully upgraded, again, this is fully, you get that 606 millimeters of penetration, which you find on almost every medium tank and some MBTs starting out. It helps, but obviously you get that premium, and then you're suddenly talking much closer, like 700 millimeters of penetration. I think it's under that, but it's better. So T-64 BV, it's not bad, but it is, again, if you've played any of the T-72 B, the Twardy, you just feel maybe a little smaller, but very similar playstyle. So, like I said in the thumbnail, same but different. So, comment down below, like and subscribe, and yeah, new season coming out. I'm excited, and I got 3rd place for just sitting there and helping my team out. Sometimes you don't have to pull the trigger. Anyway, keep your tracks on the ground, and I hope the RNG's in favor. I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.